sure you stay in good conversation, you gotta tune in to Coffee and Conversation with Collette. That's me. Thursday mornings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on the only station, WHPR TV 33. See you soon.
Great, amazing morning to you. Rise and shine up and at 'em. It is an awesome new day. And you know, I always say amazing. I can't ever get tired of that word. So I'm just going to let you all know again, it is an amazing new day. We are officially together. You know, I value our time. You're officially tuned in to Coffee and Conversation with Collette, and I'm Collette. And you all know I do my curtsy because that's what I do to show reverence to you. Because as I say on every time, every opportunity we have together, that you could be anywhere, watching anything, doing anything, but you choose to be here. WHPR TV 33 or Comcast 91 or Roku or on our app or however, smoke signal, whatever it looks like, by any means necessary, you're here because you want to be a part of a conversation. And I believe that we have been in agreement that the conversation will what? What are our 3 E's? Educate, enlighten, and empower. And so at the end of the day, as family does, we can agree to disagree, but when our time is up, we will walk away with some tools that will make us say, will make us look at things a little bit differently, will cause us to think, because we say think and grow rich, not just regurgitate information because no one has time for that. That doesn't help us become better individuals in this space that we're living in right now. And as I've shared with us, I think it's become more clear to me that I really want to enforce the importance of moments. So many times we plan, like, okay, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I want to do this. And the expectation is this. Well, guess what? That's really not promised to you. And I know a lot of you don't want to believe that you are not in control of that, but I'm here to tell you that you're not. So it is important to maximize this moment right now, like this space that we're given right now, like this breath right now, and to be grateful in this experience together. So I'm grateful for you and to you right now, thankful right now. And I pray that you receive that from me as I send that energy out into the airwaves and through the mic and through the camera, because it's really what we have. And I really want us to realize that you better live these moments. You better make a difference in these moments and have a positive impact in these moments, because you can effectuate positive change. And so with that, I have to just say, Mr. Henry Tyler, great, amazing morning to you and your family. You are an absolute gem to us and for us. And I want to start off this show in saying that to you. We had a get together at the station on yesterday, and I was caught up in meetings way out in the suburbia. And I was just agitated because I was trying to finish up and move faster to get here to be in energy and spirit and celebration with you. And so I missed it. But on today, I'm going to do better. You know, when you know better, you do better. And so I am correcting myself, and I am just sending love and energy to you and your family. Just know that we love you and we appreciate you. So that's important. So see, everyone, it was really that simple. You see, it's not hard. Just in that moment, you send out gratitude. You send out love. You send out peace. You send out an encouragement that you might not normally get. And the truth is, you might not have even thought about doing it, but I'm going to implore us today to do that. And so in our thinking today, and callers, I see you, the lines are lit. I'm going to get to all of us this morning because I really want us to talk about the state of the city. I knew you all knew that coming off of Tuesday, when you saw that Mayor Duggan was going to introduce his State of the City address to the people yet again, that we were going to talk about it today because that's important to me. And I know that it's important to you. And the truth is, I haven't seen a lot of conversation about it. It seems that we're kind of quiet about it. Are we still coming? I thought we agreed last week that we were back from Wakanda, right? Like, I thought we agreed that the plane had landed and we had our bags and everyone was nestled back into the reality. We got the great uplifting. We are now energized and encouraged in the truths of an image of who we are, more so versus what they say. what they've told us in film, what they've told us in TV, what they've told us in media, in print. And so now with that, we have a charge to look at things realistically. We have a charge to be able to ask the questions that need to be asked. And we need to present them in such a way that not that there's an expectation of why they aren't doing it, but it is that I know this is what you should be doing. And if you're not doing it for me, I'm still going to do it for me and mine. Remember, it's that ownership. And if you didn't have any other takeaway than from the movie, it should have been that in Wakanda, we are responsible for us and ours. And even though we can disagree, but the collective is that we, at that point, were protecting our way of life and who we are. But at the end, it was that we can still protect who we are and work together to govern who we are, but that we can have a positive impact into the other aspects and spheres of this universe. And so with that, I am imploring us yet on today to have the real conversations to address Mayor Duggan's State of the City address. I want to know if you all watched it. I want to know if you have an opinion about it. I want to know, is it what you just expected? Do you believe he's missing something? I'm going to show a clip. The clip that I'm going to give is going to be the first 10 minutes. It's an overview. It's actually an intro into the State of the City if you didn't see it. And I have a couple of things that are of interest to me because it appears that the mayor was focusing on children. And let me just give you this quote. You know, we love quotes, right? So I want to begin. Frederick Douglass' quote said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." I want that to sink in. Did you get that? So it's easier to, what? It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. So maybe the mayor now is having the conversation that, in the words of Whitney Houston, I believe the children are our future. And I have an aha in that, because the aha in that is that the ultimate should have always been for the children, but the preempt is that the parents and the adults have to be whole in order to have the type of impact on the children. And so then if you don't focus on the brokenness of the people, then I believe that there's not the synergy as it goes to the children. And we just had a report, 3rd grade reading, Michigan students show biggest decline. Did you all get that? It was reported in the Detroit Free Press this week, okay, on the 6th of March. 3rd grade. We can't get past 3rd grade. So if we can't get past 3rd grade, and the whole big conversation is about preparing our talents and what it's going to do, and we have this Detroit Promise where all the children are going to go and you get a scholarship or monies to go to college. What if college isn't for everyone? Clearly, if we can't get past the 3rd grade in our reading proficiency, I don't know how best equipped we are for college. And so in understanding what that looks like, is that the bait and switch? Is that the smoke and mirrors? Is that the real conversations that we should be having? But now you want to say in the clip that, you know, those who've stayed here, those who, in essence, have been neglected, but you stayed here this whole time, so now we're going to focus on you. I'm going to let you be the judge. We're going to play the first 10 minutes of the State of the City address, and this was through Click on Detroit, WDIV, so I have to say where we got the information from. And then we're going to go back to the lines, and we're going to have the real conversations, and so much so that I'm going to compare that to the conversation and the promises that were made on last year. Because you can't determine what your levels of measure are if you don't know what to compare it to, what the previous conversations are. But if indeed you just let people just keep talking and talking and you're really not paying attention because you want it to feel good, you want the sound bites, you want those little nuggets that make you say, oh, it's happening. But we're still living in chaos because our children can't read beyond the 3rd grade. And I said it. It's a decline. You can say it. You can put it in print however you want. But if we have problems and we're the biggest decline as a 3rd grade, so how old are you in 3rd grade? Like 8 or 9? So by 8 or 9, we're having a challenge. I have a problem with that. So again, if you want to grow a society, you have to focus on its biggest component is the children, as Frederick Douglass has said, as opposed to repairing its broken adults. But let's watch the clip, and then we'll come back to the lines and see what you have to say.
All right. I've got my notes here, and we've already started this process. We do something in the city now that we haven't historically done, and that is the mayor and the council and the clerk sharing the stage together. The last 4 years you've gotten used to this, but it used to be the mayor was up here and the council, if they were there, were somewhere out in the audience. But if you look at what we've dealt with together, it has been a partnership, and it was the only way we could succeed. And this is a time for me to acknowledge the partners who have made everything good happen in the city possible. And let's start with our council president, Brenda Jones. A great voice for affordable housing, the president pro tem, Mary Sheffield. We have the council member with the toughest job of all. She has stepped in and taken over the budget with all of about 4 weeks to get it done, doing a great job, council member Janae Ayers. Man who knows every nook and cranny in the 1st District. Every block club, he's there, James Tate. One of the most respected police officers in the Detroit Police Department, and our newest council member, Roy McAllister. Our strongest voice on everything related to economic development, council member Scott Benson. The man behind the affordable the rental ordinance, the new rental enforcement ordinance, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. The man in charge of the rental enforcement ordinance and the cameras in the gas stations, a great innovator from the east side, Councilman Andre Spivey. The single hardest fighter I've ever met in my life for everything she believes in, Councilmember Raquel Castaneda-Lopez. One of the best public officials this state has ever had was former state representative, state senator, and county commissioner Burton Leland. And we unfortunately lost Burton last week, but I know he's just enormously proud of the outstanding public servant his son has become, Council Member Gabe Leland. And our great county clerk, Janice Winfrey. So the other thing that we've done that, you know, our outstanding city clerk. Okay, so Alexis wants me to read this speech off a teleprompter. She might be right. That probably isn't the last mistake I'm going to make tonight. So sorry, Madam Clerk. So the other change in tradition that we made, besides the mayor freelancing on introducing the elected officials, is that we started to move the state of the city around in different areas. We went out to the Old Redford Theater, and it was extremely well received. Then we went over to the east side to Second Ebenezer Church, and I really wanted to come to Southwest Detroit. And in particular, I got some folks here. I know people from Southwest feel like they're not always remembered, but I could not forget, because here at Western High School, my grandmother, Mabel Kelly, graduated in the class of 1909. This was her neighborhood. And she got her love of learning here at Western. She went on to what we now know as Eastern Michigan University, became a school teacher in the Detroit Public Schools for many years, got married next door at Holy Redeemer Church. This was a neighborhood that has strong roots in my family. That was about 100 years ago. More recently, my mother, in the 1990s, was head of a nonprofit called Life Direction that dealt with troubled youth. And she placed herself in this building at Western International High School, where she was here every day with teenage girls dealing with their issues and their problems. She felt like she needed to be where those who needed her the most were. And I would hear stories night after night from my mom on what our young people were going through. And I think about my grandmother, who saw Detroit through a lot of good days, my mom being down in this neighborhood in tougher days. But it's interesting what one person can do. So my mother looked at all these kids with nothing to do after school. A lot of people living in this part of the area are immigrants from countries where they deeply valued soccer. So she went out and decided she was going to start a soccer league. And she recruited this young soccer player by the name of Tim Ritchie. And she said, I want you to come in and start a soccer league in Detroit for Life Directions. Well, 20 years later, Tim Ritchie's the head pal. He built that beautiful facility at Michigan and Trumbull, and we now have 2,000 young people playing soccer. So when I come back to this neighborhood, I think about what it's meant over the years. When I walk into Holy Redeemer Church, I always stop in the back of the church because my grandma saved her money from being a school teacher, and her church was so important to her, she paid out of a school teacher's salary for the Stations of the Cross that are still in that church. And you can go in the back of that church now, and the plaque's there. Stations of the Cross donated by Mrs. Patrick Duggan back in the 1920s. This community has been very important for people's dreams for a long time. And so I want to say to the principal here, Angel Garcia, and to the Western High School community, thank you very much for hosting me. Dr. Vitti, thank you for the introduction earlier. And this is going to be maybe a kind of a state of speech you're not really used to. It's not going to be a lot of rhetoric and stuff. It's going to be a lot of substance. And I really want to talk to the people of Detroit and say, we have a clear direction of where we want to go the next 4 years. And I'm going to talk to you today in great detail about what I see. But you have to start with where we come from and the people who are making it possible. And at this point, I'd like to ask the men and women of this city's cabinet to stand up and be introduced. They're working 80-hour weeks. They're doing a great job. For our 18 members of the cabinet, please stand up. Thank you for your service. So, where do we come from? The numbers, I still can't get my mind around. The 10 years before I was elected, this city lost 244,000 people in 10 years. And so, how big is that? We lost 26%. That same decade, the city of New Orleans had Katrina. The city largely flooded. In the same decade New Orleans had Katrina, New Orleans only lost 17% of their population. That's how devastating the financial and services crisis was to this city. And if you look at the 10 largest cities in Michigan today, Detroit's the largest, goes down to Livonia. You know what the second largest city would be? The people who left Detroit in 10 years. They would constitute the second largest city in Michigan. That's what we're dealing with.
So everyone, I just wanted to provide you with a kind of overview. If you hadn't seen the State of the City, I implore you to go, and you can Google and it will come up and you can watch it in its entirety. It's 58 minutes, but I'm going to give you a recap as stated in the Detroit News, the key points from Mike Duggan's State of the City address. A, education investment. The mayor touted the Detroit Promise. Housing. The administration intends to have every vacant abandoned house demolished, boarded up, or remodeled by 2019. Crime, fire reduction. Some 300 businesses have joined Project Greenlight in the last 2 years. Jobs, businesses. He discussed Lear, Microsoft, Adient, and other major enterprises are moving or planning to open sites in the city. Roads, transit, neighborhoods. $90 million in road improvements is scheduled this year. So that's just a brief overview. We can get into the details, but I just wanted to know, again, did that resonate with you? Did you notice kind of the subliminal messaging? Did you notice how we talked about the importance of playing soccer growing up, and we know that we're trying to get a state-of-the-art soccer facility downtown. And did you get that? You were supposed to buy into the importance of soccer. I don't know if you all caught that. Remember, a lot of times you have to listen. Don't just hear. Listen to what folks say. And so I think it's just so interesting. Again, in all of that, he talks about the successes, and he doesn't make promises. He talks about the successes, and I implored us that, guess what? If I'm coming into a space and my debt has been cleared, I can create whatever I want to create as well. And so I don't want us to miss the importance of the truth of the conversation. I'm not taking anything away of his said leadership and what this looks like, but I don't believe that no matter who is in this position, we wouldn't necessarily be here. And maybe because he's not a man of color, then again, when you talk about what society looks like overall and how individuals work together, then this was just a catalyst to bring those who had faith to want to work with him to get into the city to make things happen. It's no different than what we see in 45 and President Trump and all the atrocities that he is implementing and having the conversations and creating throughout this country and this world because of who he is. No one has stopped him. He still has people lined up to be supportive of him. It still is a bigger picture, and he says it's for the greater good of the people. But look at what it is doing to who we are as a country and how others perceive us in this world. And maybe it's no different here. So now we want to really focus on education. I thought we should have been focusing on education. I thought that we've had 3 or 4 emergency managers and that the education is still the same because, as this report says, we can't get past the 3rd grade in reading and all the monies that have been put in, and everyone's supposed to have this master plan, but the young people aren't educated, and that's only because now Amazon said we didn't have the talent. Is that what that looks like? Because you want to meet us right where we are? These are just my opinions. We're going to go to the line because I want you to be a part of it because we're going to critically think through what has been presented to us, okay? So let me go to the line. Thanks for your patience. Great morning to you. Are you there? Caller? Good morning. One more time. Am I missing you? Caller, you there? Okay. Well, I'm missing you, so hang up and call back. So I want to make sure I get you. Maybe it's just a connection problem, all right? Thanks for your patience. Caller, are you there?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes, let me turn this down. Yeah, I've seen that address,
Okay.
but the address did not deal with our reality. And I disagree with Frederick Douglass because children got parents. They don't raise themselves.
Okay.
And when a household don't have no water, the children don't have no water either.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have no light to study by. The parents and the children don't have no light.
Yes.
When they move out, the mothers, they move out the children.
Yes.
And for example, when he said that Detroit has been producing unemployed residences for years,
mm-hmm.
that's totally not true.
Okay.
What's been producing unemployment in this city since the 60s,
Okay.
has 63, has been the suburbanization, moving all the factories out of Detroit to the suburbs.
Yes.
And moving Hudson to the suburbs, and all Crowleys and all those left the city. That
Yes.
caused the unemployment. Not Detroit wasn't producing anything. Detroit, the people of Detroit was a victim of that policy.
Yes.
And only those people don't study policy would be swept with his generality.
Okay.
Now, the second thing I've seen is that when he says that he's going to make a different speech, it's not going to be addressed. He's going to be real serious. He loves our children.
Yes.
Well, let me say this to you and the audience. The reason he don't speak of about service because Detroit don't have no control over its services anymore.
Okay.
We are controlled by what we call de facto government. Those are the authorities, like the Great Lake Authority that controls the water,
Mm-hmm.
the Provo Hall Authority that controls recreation, the state authority that controls all our assets are gone, and
Okay.
all the functions. The mayor got very few functions other than police and firemen. So therefore, when he said he had to fill that time up,
Yeah.
so he started talking about the future. But he did not talk about, number one, 360 over 300, no, I got the figures here, 374,000.
Okay.
82% of those who are working age in Detroit don't have a job. Now that, Collette, is not unemployment rate.
Right.
That's employment rate.
Right.
Only those who will work. And when the last time I got any figures, because I can't get them no more like I used to,
Okay.
look, it was 78,000 black Detroiters working in Detroit.
Right.
And out of 200 and something thousand. So it was only 14.8% blacks working. So if we don't start from our actual condition,
Yeah.
but if we start from children in the future,
Sure.
then what happens to the 300 that can't read because of those policies?
Right. Right.
Should they die?
Right.
Should they not eat?
Right.
So that's what the mayor did not address. And
Yeah.
and I've been hearing the last thing on it. I've listened to Banco Thompson on 910,
Okay.
and I heard a lot of platitudes like racism,
Okay.
poverty,
Okay.
but never going into the figures of statistics, because that's the only way we can talk about Detroit. It's too big. It's
Yeah.
too many people. You
Yeah.
got to use the data. He
Yeah.
never used none, and him and I think it's I can't think his name right now.
Okay.
But anyway, they talk platitudes, and I heard that. And I listened. Someone told me to listen to that station. I don't usually listen to it.
Okay.
But I listened to it all day almost because I was writing.
Okay.
And I heard nothing but platitudes. And
Yeah.
I hope, and I think on this station, we talk more some facts and put two and two together.
Sure.
So I just want to say I didn't think much of his speech. His speech
Yeah.
was a flim-flam
Yeah.
because he did not talk about the parents. And you can't talk about the children without talking about the parents.
Yes.
And if the parents can't read,
Yes.
the question is why they can't read in Detroit, why
Right.
they can't read in black parents in Chicago,
Right.
in Los Angeles,
Yes.
why are all black people laying on the ground? It's a policy, I'm
Yes.
saying. And that's
Yes.
we must deal with those policies and the parents. We can't just deal with children.
Yes.
We deal with
Yes.
children as we go.
Yes. Absolutely. I totally agree, Brother Tyrone. Absolutely.
Now,
Thank you so much for your call. Have a great day. I think Brother Tyrone has set the tone for us this morning. And I hope, as he said, that he watched the State of the City address. I don't know if you did, but he set the tone. I mean, I agree. I agree that how can you sit and talk about the children if the parents, I totally agree. And I'm wondering, did we miss that? Like, did you all hear it and you agreed to it and you just thought it was great and you didn't really realize that it was just a conversation? It doesn't really change anything? I mean, I'm just asking. I'm just asking. And then the segment, remember, because it's in a portion. Like this whole, they create these pilots. And so these pilots are in certain areas. It's not like citywide. So you want to talk about the public school, community districts, the CD at the end versus the charter schools, and that they invited him in. He didn't force himself in. They invited him in to have an impact. Well, what impact are you going to have? Like, I don't understand. So what, you all going to change the curriculum? The curriculum has never been representative of the people. So what, the curriculum's going to be different? The teaching model? We talk about now, no one talks about phonics. It's sight-based words, so they don't teach you the sounds. I mean, so is it just a conversation that I want to focus on education and we're going to focus on it? So now we're going to pull some more monies because the school system has been in disarray from the state management. Let's talk about who's really owning this thing. Like, what does that really look like? That doesn't negate what we're supposed to do for ours and our households. But what does this really, where are your tax dollars going? And maybe he just had to have something to say. Let me go to you. Let me see what you have to say. Thanks for your patience. Great morning to you.
Good morning, fellow patriots.
Good morning, Patriot. How are you?
Well, Collette,
Yes.
I just couldn't really get into the mayor's conversation about education when he had a big hand at putting us in the position we are today. his. I've talked to contractors that had to go in after his contractors supposed to have been trying to fix up the school
Sure.
to do repair the damage that they have done to it, and that was in the tune of $80 million.
Okay.
And let's not forget his position with the EAA.
Okay.
So when he was speaking, all I can think about is his part in the destruction of the Detroit public school system.
Yeah. Well, stay there for a
So,
minute, Patriot, because I want to ask you, and you make a really good point. So maybe we are so focused on the facade. So it's the image of what the school looked like. Because at no point, I mean, again, maybe I'm missing what the role of the mayor is. I need to understand how he needed to be pulled into the conversation to fix education. What? How? I just I don't even understand. That is not even in your preview of what this looks like. I don't even understand that. And then we still have the state governing the overseeing component that no one talks about that's in place. So, because of course he acknowledged Governor Snyder. So, is this what's coming down from the state then to create another revenue stream to put in certain people, then to get other contracts that still have nothing to do with the education of the children? But that, in his terms, was we got to support those who've been here the whole time and never left. I wonder where that came from. But please continue, Patriot.
well, like I said, he was, to me, very disingenuous in his tone about being concerned about education when he destroyed the educational system, stole the money, he part of the thievery crew that stole our money and destroyed our public school system. So I just couldn't. And what one thing I did notice, Collette, is the response in the audience.
Yeah.
And it seemed like this response was not overwhelming of the mayor's speech. The audience was not overwhelmed or dazzled by his words or conversation. Maybe they knew what I know, but it wasn't like no overwhelming applause and cheering on any of the parts of the speeches that I heard.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this, because then you make another point. Who was really in the audience? Because I thought that they stack in. Like, remember back in the day, anyone could just show up, right? So even if you were at times where you had people that were heckling and all kinds of stuff, that is what, that's that freedom of speech. That's that democracy that we're supposed to have. But now, throughout time, it seems like they stack the audience with people who are going to be either silent, or it's just understood that you're there to support the agenda. So I really wonder who was really in the room.
Well, maybe all we heard applauding was his supporters.
Right.
That auditorium, it looked like it was full,
right?
But it didn't seem like the audience that responded was a full audience that was responding.
Yeah, yeah. Great point.
Just my observation.
Sure.
But like I said, maybe it was the speech, and maybe most of the people, know that the mayor had something to do with the destruction of the school system, and maybe they just didn't feel obligated to applaud.
Sure. Or you know what? Or you make another point. Maybe the bigger issue is the people who were in that room. I'd love to know what percentage of them, children, actually go into the public school system. I'd love to know. I'd love to know the people who are in partnership and employed by the city, what amount of people who have children that are school age actually attend a Detroit public school. And I'm not talking about the magnet schools. I'm talking about you attend a Detroit public school or a charter school. I'd love to know that, because I think that sets the conversation too. Because the majority of the people, I bet you their children don't even go to the schools. They're not a part of the charter school system. They're a part of the magnet schools, so they'll tell you, oh, I go to Cass or something like that. So that's interesting. I would love,
Well, yeah.
And so that's a different educational model as well.
And that too, when he brought out his little diagram to show that how the suburban public schools were taking away the children from Detroit.
Yes.
Well, we're talking about exodus of the citizens from Detroit. Well, we have a lot of responsible people that care about their children in Detroit, and they care about the education that their children receive.
Yes.
But if they don't have any control over their curriculum or what to say about their own schools,
Yes.
then why would they want to stay here?
Thank you. Thank
So,
you. Yeah.
and one last thing,
Sure.
when there's 18 cabinet members stood up,
Right.
I said, man, that's a whole lot of money
Yes.
standing up there.
Whole lot. Top heavy, baby, and you figure the average salary is at least 100,000. So
Yeah, see, that's what I saw. So
yeah.
I saw we spending a whole lot of money and ain't getting a whole lot back for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have an amazing day.
You
I
have
will,
an amazing day as
because
well.
you,
Thank you so
okay.
much, everyone. The Patriot put it out there. He brought us into the tone of looking at wonder what that space looked like, who the people were, how again much money we're spending on these people who are supposed to facilitate all these different areas of operation for the city. But what are we getting? What's our return? What's our ROI? The investment. What's the return off that? And if we're sitting here talking about education, why that's not something new. And so maybe that's why it was like a lull with it. Maybe people were just like, okay, I don't really know. Or was the issue that my children don't even go to the school? Or guess what? There's no way I would put my children in a school district or educational setting where they couldn't be proficient in reading at the 3rd grade. I don't know. Let's see what you have to say. Thanks for your patience. Great morning to you. Caller, you there? Oh, no. Did he miss you? Okay, well, hang up and call back. Can we do that? Maybe we're just having a little connection problem. I'm going to go to the next line. Caller, are you there? Great morning to you. Oh, no. Caller? I see you all. You're not there, caller?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, good. How are you?
All right, now we are on the connection. Let me just say this.
Okay.
There's more money in helping your children if they don't know nothing. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, wait, stay right there. Wait, stay right there. Stay right there. I need us to say that statement again. There is more money in helping your children if they don't know anything. I want you all to let that sink in because I have an opinion about that statement. There is more money.
Right. There's
Okay.
more money in that.
Please.
If your children don't know how to read at the 3rd grade level,
Right.
then that means I get to get a group to come in and help your child read all the way up until they're adults.
Sure.
See, the destruction of the school system and all that was designed for a populace who don't have no jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to happen is you're going to see.
Ooh. Call back so I can get you. We lost you. But he makes a good point on that. I told you I was listening to NPR. It's been a couple months ago, and there was a young lady who said that she had a tutoring program, and it was at Central High School. So she was teaching. She came in there and she was teaching high school students how to read. And I was like, wait a minute. You've been passed this whole time through the grade system and you're into high school and you can't read. And so your conversation is, oh yeah, we need to create more programs that teach them how to read versus, and you're in high school versus going back to the drawing board and figuring out what happened. And so maybe again, this 3rd grade report shows us that if we can't get it right by 3rd grade, clearly by the 9th grade, it's not going to happen. Let me just see if this is 6-4 again. 6, is this you? I wanted you to complete your thought. Are you there? Good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, Collette.
What?
This is Joe.
Hey, Joe. Average Joe.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
I didn't listen to this guy's speech yesterday, and the reason I didn't is he has his monthly visit here at this station.
Uh-huh.
But I would urge everyone to compare his speech, right, the state of the city, to his visit to the station, right?
Yeah.
And I don't usually get into politics.
Okay.
But whenever he comes here monthly, right,
Yes.
it's the same handful of lackeys that call him. What I want to say to those lackeys and to him and to the people that he support, right,
Okay.
is when he come here this month, at least let some different people call and talk to this man about the state of the city of Detroit. You can talk about the periphery of the city all you want, right?
Yes.
But we invite him here once a month, free of sound bites.
Right.
Right?
Sure.
So this time, I'll say it again, I don't normally delve in politics. I'll
Okay.
leave that to Tyrone and to the Patriots.
Okay.
They deserve it. They can speak about it, right?
Sure.
But just don't give us this phony state of the city when you come here this month, this time. And I don't care who hear me,
Okay.
who this guy supports, right?
Okay.
We're sick of the same handful of people calling you, calling this station, telling him that thanks for getting this cat out of my tree.
Right.
Thanks for getting this trash out from behind my house.
Right.
Do something for the station and do something for the people whose feet are down on the ground, not stomping around downtown.
Nice.
Like I said, I don't normally get into politics, but I wouldn't waste my time on this guy this morning if I were you.
All right.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you so much for calling. And I think he makes a great point. And I again, that's why we have the opportunities that we have on TV 33 to be able to present the real conversations. And I would just implore anyone that, guess what? Let people call in and have the real conversations. Because if you are a leader, you can take it. You can take it. You all call in, we go back and forth. There are tons of times I'm sure I could say something and you all say, Collette, you're on the zigs, whatever the case may be. You don't have an accurate depiction of it. You're not, whatever that looks like. And in the truth of it, if I'm here to serve you, and if it is not just for politicizing and creating an agenda, then we can have the real conversations and we can agree to disagree. And guess what? Trash is important. We get that. And potholes in the streets and that, all that, we get that. But the truth is, outside of any of that, if you do not and you cannot create a whole citizen by having adequate housing, adequate education, adequate food, safe environment, then all of it's for naught. And so the truth is, when the people that call in, if they are not the ones that are safe and it's supporting a platform, you'll get more bang for the buck if you just let it flow seamlessly and real. Because maybe it'll give us something to think about and to say, you know what, there's a different perspective. Because you see right now, the conversation was, I want to talk about the people who never left. We never talked about the people who never left before. If you all notice that, Senator Coleman Young, when he was running, he supported, and his conversation was about the people that never left the city. And you can't forget the people that never left the city. Now we're talking about the people that left the city, but it's the children, not the adults. So then you talk about, okay, well, I'm going to have fair housing in these, midtown kind of mixed use housing things. But again, it doesn't fit into the neighborhoods versus I'm just going to have these houses boarded up. So either it's going to be sold through the land bank or some other stuff, or the houses are just going to be boarded up. I don't know what that looks like, because we all know that if a house is boarded up, it's real simple to come through. I saw some guys on the street off of Wyoming trying to board up some houses. Okay, and then what's going to happen? If someone needs some place to stay, then they're going to come in and take the boards down and commandeer it and keep moving with it. But maybe those are the conversations that we don't want to have. Or maybe you need to say that to keep your funding streams together and to keep the people these corporations, as to Tyrone's point, that are now moving back into the city because it's safe to move back into the city, because now we want to invest in the city. The ones that left some umpteen years ago that stripped the city of its employable base, then now we're coming back. And so I got to change the dynamic. But it still doesn't meet the immediate needs of the neighborhoods. And if we have the real conversations, then maybe we'll all learn and grow and create a viable plan that can create some solutions. Not just other people who keep getting rich, keep getting fat, keep filling their pockets. I'm asking us. This is critical thinking this morning. Let me go to the lines. Thanks for your patience. Great morning to you. Caller, are you there?
Good morning, Collette. How are you?
Amazing. How are you?
Okay. You know what? I'm a Detroiter, and it's really hard for me to believe what I've seen happen after England got in office. I mean, I can imagine these guys licking their chops here you have
Sure.
the largest city with the black home ownership by blacks. All these people are paying tax.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? All these people are paying tax.
Yes.
And then you got a water system that's making money.
Yes.
You got a lighting system that's making money.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You got a school system that got a $114 million surplus.
Yes.
I can see them licking their chops. Europeans think that black people need them to come in and do something or for them. We didn't need them. What they saw when they looked at Detroit, they saw a successful city. They saw all this money that they can get their hands on.
Yes.
And they came in actually and stripped Detroit of everything as if we had committed some kind of crime against them.
Come on.
You understand? I watched them move after England took over. I mean, they took over the zoo, the library, Cobo Hall.
Right.
I mean, what is it
Right.
that we had? Why do they think they need to come in and direct our lives?
Nice.
Now they got their hands on our little black baby.
Yes.
You understand? That's the part I don't understand, because when I went to school, they showed me a movie about mankind. It was about a little monkey. You can see the little pictures where he developed into a man.
Okay.
But then they send the same child to church on Sunday and tell them that God created him. But in school, they teach them that he evolved.
Right.
Then they wonder why these children are acting all stupid and crazy out here on the street. They're keeping them stupid.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Come on.
the mayor,
Yeah.
he was equally involved in the destruction of the city of Detroit.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And one other bad thing that they do,
Yes.
if you lose your house through foreclosure, let's say you paid $20 grand for your house,
Right.
and you lose it through foreclosure, and your house was paid off. They take your house, and you lose it because you owe, let's say, $6,000 of taxes worth $20 grand.
Right.
The city keep all the money.
Yeah.
How you gonna keep all the money?
Right. Come on.
No $6 grand.
Come on.
Give me my 14.
Thank you.
These people have been getting rich off these foreclosures,
Yes.
selling them to these associations.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
How do we just sit back and you don't hear the city council, but you don't hear Lansing screaming about this injustice? Then what the hell are they keep picking up checks for every month?
Come
Well,
on.
they're not doing nothing for nobody. These people their checks just roll in.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I'm tired of giving these people my money,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
So, no, I can't give Duggan no credit for nothing because he was just as instrumental in destroying this city as anybody else. It started with England.
Okay.
So we're talking from what, 1999?
That was 99?
That's 20
Yeah.
years. That's a generation of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Come on.
It took them 20 years to do what they do.
Yes.
And I can't see no man up here bragging about money that was misdirected by the governor
Yeah.
that he's now working with, and he was also a participant in. What is he bragging about? How can you brag about destroying retirees and taxpayers?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand? Exclude the parents from being involved in their students' education. I mean, this is hatred to me.
It is.
This is hatred.
It
But if
is.
you read your past, you know your past. Europeans have always done this.
Yep.
If they ever see an area where it was successful, they had to come in to destroy it.
Yes.
Because they can't stand to see black people being successful. I mean, what other school system in the United States at the time in 1999 had a $114 million surplus?
Right.
And yet, what other school in the state of Michigan
Yeah.
was running?
Yeah.
It had 114 million. They can't be compared to.
Nope.
So they had to come in and destroy something successful. And that's what, and I haven't forgiven them for that.
Yeah.
That's unforgivable.
Yeah.
You understand? That's
Yeah.
like terrorism to me.
It is.
Like Governor England and Granholm,
Yes.
along with their Sambos,
Yes.
destroyed their city of Detroit. And it's real sad to see that.
Yes.
Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, thank you so much. You know what? You always end us on a great note. I just love it. And callers, oh my goodness. All the lines are lit. We're going to continue this conversation in the morning, but I just have to say, if you didn't take in the nuggets that were just shared, well, we have short-term memory, right? So the truth is, we don't even know what our history is in this space to be able to compare it to anything, because we really don't. And so at the end of the day, that was my let's just talk about housing really quickly. That was my issue when the quote-unquote housing crisis hit and the bubble and everyone was losing their homes, but the value of the homes was depreciated, but we weren't reassessed for the depreciated value of the home. So our tax base for what? The taxes for the next 5 or 6 years stayed at the value of when the house was before the recession hit. And we were still held accountable for that value that we had to pay, but that wasn't the real value. And so many people lost their homes off of that, and no one who was elected understood that, and no one was having the conversation to say, wait a minute. I can't possibly have you pay $3,000 and $4,000 for a house at one point that was $80,000, and now, to his caller's point, now the value has gone down to $10,000, but I still have you at that tax price. You all know that's what we were in. And people have been screaming, but no, you have to reassess the taxes. They just reassessed the taxes a couple years ago. How many people lost homes based on not being able to pay, not being able to pull money because the value of the house depreciated, and you lost it, but no one said anything? No one. Hear me. I'm not playing with you. Everyone who's sitting here talking about these elected officials, if the elected official does not know as much as you know, and the conversations that we are having right now, shame on you for voting for them. If everybody up there and nobody throughout this whole time had the conversation about how can we tax these people when the values of the houses aren't equivalent now to what the tax price was, and we're taking their houses, no one said anything about it, and you still elect them in. And everyone, let me just say this, and I'm going to wrap up. Everyone, I'm going to give you privilege first thing tomorrow because we'll be back on the air at 7 a.m. It's the same thing for this city of Highland Park. I would tell everybody who you've elected, who's been sitting on that council for the last 10 and 15 years, who have been complacent, and as they say, try to say they're doing something to help the city, and the city is exactly what it is and what it was then. And these are the same people, because election time is going to come up, and now they're all going to still be talking about, I'm here to fight for you. You tell me what they fought for you for. You tell me what this city has now that made it better than what's been happening over the last 10 years of this city. And these same people have been in office. Or then these people are going to ask you to give them opportunity for a higher position. Some of them are going to want to run for mayor. Well, I want to know what you did when you were on council. Because guess what? When you do nothing, you are still guilty of something. And so if you all don't start looking at this stuff and having the real conversation of how it's shaping your life, outside of people just saying, talking, and collecting a check, I'm telling you, it's going to be the death of you. That's what this is. So that will be the state of our cities, the death of us, because you keep putting people in a position who are Pinocchios to the bigger Geppetto for $20-some thousand. You got to go to jail for $20-some thousand? Are you kidding me? A check, you might get $50 or $60-some thousand when they're raking in millions? But I guess we're easily bought that way. And so now the school system is but another example of the business of government. Come on, y'all. We're going to have a different conversation. That's what it's going to be. So our time is up. We're going to continue that on tomorrow. We're going to continue talking about the state of who we are versus who they say we are and where we're going to go. I appreciate all your calls today. All the lines are still lit. You guys call back first thing tomorrow at 7 a.m. We'll be here bright and early to continue the conversation. And I hope you're thinking about it. And I hope you'll watch the state if you hadn't watched it, because we're going to have the real dialogue. We're going to continue to make it real because we will be educated, enlightened, and empowered. So make today amazing. Keep your thoughts open and positive to the truths of what is happening around you. Don't fall into the illusions. The truth is, it's really all an illusion. Don't fall into that. And until tomorrow, I'll see you then.
You're watching W33BY, Detroit, Highland Park, Michigan.